lovelies, today I'm going to make a super popular recipe. I'm going to be making Portuguese custard tarts, pastel de nata, oh well, whatever it's called guys, do leave me a comment below, maybe tell me exactly how to spell it and how to say it. I'm really excited though because they are so delicious and actually extremely easy to make. I'm going to be using some homemade puff pastry. If you want to make your own puff pastry, I've got a great video which I will link and you guys know how to get that, whether it's above or below. Find out and make that lovely puff pastry at home. You can also use store-bought puff pastry for this recipe. Totally up to you guys and how much time you have and how fast you want to eat these. For Portuguese custard tarts, I'm actually going to make a very specific type of custard. I'm going to be boiling some sugar first, make like a kind of sugar syrup, and then I'm going to be making my custard and pouring that sugar syrup in. It's apparently the traditional way of doing it, and again, do correct me about that if I'm wrong. I'm so sorry if I am, but this is what I thought tastes extremely nice. This is also easy. You've got some sugar, we've got some cinnamon stick, a little bit of lemon zest. I literally just peel off one bit of lemon zest and that's all you need to do. And then some water. And then you're essentially just going to boil this at the highest possible temperature. For TM5 and TM6 you can go all the way up to 120 degrees. For TM31 go the highest you possibly can, and then you're leaving the lid off because we want it to really boil, and that's just what we're going to start with, and then we're going to make the custard. It smells absolutely divine in here. The cinnamon, the lemon and the sugar syrup is just so perfect. All I'm going to do now is essentially just pop it into a large, well, medium-sized jug. There's no need to clean this up afterwards again, so you just literally leave it as it is. And you just need to remove your cinnamon stick and also your lemon zest quickly with a spoon if you can, or just take it out like that. Just make sure you don't do that with your hands straight away because it's quite hot. And then we can just continue with the rest of our recipe. So for the custard, essentially it's very simple. I've got egg yolks and an egg. Usually a really good custard is made with mostly egg yolks. I also add in one whole egg to bulk up a little bit. And you just pop that right in. Add in your milk. I've got whole milk for this one. You could use semi-skimmed milk, no problem. I've got a bit of corn flour, that's for thickness, so corn flour, cornstarch. If you need to make this gluten-free and you have a gluten-free pastry, then just make sure that your cornstarch is actually gluten-free. Otherwise you could use potato starch as well, or maize. Maize is another thing that you could use, which is very similar. Then I've got some vanilla bean paste. For this beautiful vanilla bean paste, just make sure you follow some of my stuff on my channel because that's where you find that stuff. It's really good, and I'm just going to pop in a little bit. I don't want it to be over vanilla-y, so I'm just going to add in about a level teaspoon, I'd say. That's more than enough to create a really lovely vanilla custardy flavour. And then all we've got left to do is pop this on, and we're going to leave the lid off. We're going to be cooking this at 90 degrees only, speed 2, but halfway through we're slowly going to pour in our sugar syrup so that we create the perfect consistency custard. It's been now about 9 minutes. My custard is done. It's still quite liquid. This is not a properly set custard, but it will set in the fridge, so that's all we need to do for now. I'm literally just going to pop that into my serve bowl, and you'll see, oh, it's got this lovely little bits of vanilla, which I really like. And we're literally just going to pop it in, leave it there. I'm going to put my lid on. These are my Thermomix bowls. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know I love these. So, and if you don't, and if you've just watched the first video, go watch some others and see. They're really good. Just pop this on and literally apply a bit of pressure. That silicone lid will essentially just keep this warm, but also prevent the skin from building. Now you could leave this in the fridge just to cool down and then literally use it for your next steps. We're going to be using my homemade puff pastry. You can find that video on my channel as well and below, guys. And if you don't have that at home, don't worry about it. If you haven't got the time, you can just at this time take out a ready rolled all butter puff pastry sheet and we can continue with the next steps. So, Portuguese custard tarts, now they're going to be assembled. I've basically preheated my oven. I've got myself a muffin tin ready. I've got my homemade puff pastry. Let's do that again, shall we?
I've got my homemade, you can go, I've got my homemade puff pastry.
I've got my homemade puff pastry. You can use a puff pastry sheet that's already rolled out for you. Just make sure it is an all butter puff pastry. I'm just going to roll up mine, and if you want to know how to make this lovely puff pastry, just make sure you follow my channel, and there you will find those cool videos. I'm just going to roll this out now essentially into a lovely rectangle, not applying too much pressure because I don't want to destroy any of those lovely layers I've created in all of this hard labour. It's actually not that hard, but I just want to make sure that I don't smash my pastry into one. It doesn't want to be merged, so I want to just roll it out really nice and carefully, not too much pressure, from side to side until you have a lovely rectangle. So now we're going to roll this up. I've got my rectangle, and essentially all I'm doing is now making a little snail. So just roll it up nice and tight, like so. And just make sure you're not too loose. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut this into 12 individual pieces. If you have a normal puff pastry sheet, you're just going to cut it into 6 and then a second sheet into 6 again. That's how you're going to end up with the same. But because I've got quite thick puff pastry, I'm going to cut this into 12 pieces so that we can then roll it out. Now there's two options of doing this basically. Essentially we could just take one of our little snails and just sort of flatten it, right? Then take that snail, make it a little bit wider, pop it in here, and sort of make a shape however we want. That's a very rustic way of doing it and a really fast way of doing it as well. That may mean that some of the layers might be ever so slightly damaged, and that's okay because essentially it's still going to turn out absolutely fantastic. But if you are a little bit more pernickety with it and you really want to make sure these look absolutely their best, and you are about to bring them to friends and really want to show off that you are the absolute puff pastry Portuguese custard tart master, you're essentially just going to take one, flatten it again, and roll it out a little bit round. Just make sure that your rolling pin is a little bit dusted. Roll it like that into a nice circle and pop it in. So that's the two options you have. One is a bit rough, one's a bit more neat. Either way, it's going to look absolutely fantastic, and you have your amazing custard tarts in no time. Last thing we're going to do is essentially pop in our custard. It's cooled down a little bit, and we're literally just going to fill these up about 3/4. Don't want to fill them up all the way, because if you do, you may end up with a bit of custard all over the place, and also it might not be enough. So just make sure you do that about 3/4 full, 2/3, 3/4, something like that. They're now ready, and they can pop straight into the oven, bake lovely, and then, oh my god, they're going to look so good. They're going to develop this lovely little, these dark little patches of caramelized custard, which is exactly what we want. So let's pop them in the oven, bake them nicely, 20-25 minutes, perhaps, something like that. You might want to turn your tray halfway through the baking process, depending on how your oven works, and then these guys are ready to be devoured by me very, very soon. It is Portuguese custard time, because I'm so hungry. This is done, guys. This is done. These are done. These will flop down again a little bit, as you will see it basically shrinking back into shape a little bit. That's totally normal, because custard sort of shrinks back a little bit as it cools down. But the pastry looks incredible. I'm going to wait a few more minutes before I actually tuck into them, because they're so hot. But I want to show you what they look like inside, so just let them cool down for a second. So they've cooled down a little bit, not enough for anyone to eat it but me, obviously, so I'm testing them for technical reasons to make sure that you guys actually have a good experience at home. They are so divine. They smell incredible. They've just shrunk back a tiny bit. That's what they should look like. They should have a tiny bit of a wrinkly skin, come down a little bit, and that's exactly what you want your custard tarts to look like. So I'm going to pop it down. I've picked my favorite one, and you can see this lovely flaky puff pastry that I've created at home. This is the homemade one I've used. It looks amazing. I'm essentially just going to cut right into it for you, or I'm just going to have it actually as it is, because I'm so excited. And they are perfectly caramelized at the top. Let's just bite into it. Here's my hook fork. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is so good. Do you know how good these custard tarts are? No, I mean, you have no idea until you've actually made them, because they are so good. This custard in the middle is perfect. It's just set. Look at this flaky puff pastry around it. It's just perfect. This is what you want. Super nice and crispy but flaky puff pastry, wonderfully set custard, just cooked to perfection. These guys are awesome. They're amazing. Oh my god, you have to make them. Make them. Just switch off, make them now. I'll see you guys next time. Subscribe to my channel. Ring that bell. Have some custard tarts. Bye bye.
You don't have to worry.
What do you say not to do?
Don't do that. Don't fill it up too much. Whoops.